tell me?
No, we just wait and see today. I think Gary, 1 or 2 have had knocks this week, but wait and see if they're fit or not. We'll find out today.
So Joey Barton, for example.
Joey's had a bit of a hamstring, so he's coming out today. Have a look at him. Jordan much the same. So there's 1 or 2 of them. Hopefully they'll be okay.
I'm told that Vargas picked up a hand injury in under 21 game. Is that?
Yeah. No, he had some stitches in his head, but he's okay. He trained yesterday, so he's available.
Well, so return to Loftus Road of Mark Hughes. What kind of reception do you think?
He gets a good reception. Mark's a top manager, and they did okay the first year, and then had a difficult start to the second season. I think it was, but that can happen to anybody. We've all been at places where some places it goes for you, but places is difficult. But Mark's is a good lad, and he's a top manager.
And obviously you're not going to go into detail publicly, but you did find when you came here that there was some players that come in that perhaps would be better off not at the club. You had to.
Well, I'm sure it wouldn't all be down to Mark. That happens. There were players here. He probably inherited some and some come in, and you never get a perfect group, and it was probably a difficult time for him. But he's gone to Stoke now, and he's doing an excellent job at Stoke, the same as he's done at most clubs he's been at.
A lot of the fans obviously might feel differently to you about that.
I don't know. That's up to them, and Gary. It's nothing I can do about it. People always got they've got opinions about everybody. Everybody's got an opinion about everybody in life, and you can't please all the people all the time, and they're entitled to their opinion. So.
Stoke, though, just generally speaking, the kind of team at home you need to be getting results against.
Well, they're a strong side. They went to Man City 2 weeks ago and beat them 1-0. Not many teams would do that this year. So yeah, it'd be a hard game. I saw them last week. I went to the game, watched them play Leicester, and I thought they played ever so well. First half they were excellent. So it'd be a tough game. But yeah, we're at home and we're positive. We're looking forward to the game, and I think we've got a chance with anybody at home.
Peter Crouch always gets a good reception from QPR fans. I think he's a QPR fan himself, and he certainly started his career.
Yeah. He started here, Crouchy, and we took him to Portsmouth from QPR, and I've managed him at most places since then. He's a top player.
Never in recent times close to rejoining you.
What, here at QPR? Yeah, he's a player that we spoke about a few times, but you'd always have Crouchy. I think he's a great bloke and a good player. So, but no, nothing ever came of it.
Have you settled this week in terms of back on the training pitch following Old Trafford?
No problem, Gary. I mean, not many teams go to Old Trafford and win this year, so it's their games really. They're almost bonus games. I think we've had if you looked at our start, the 2 home games, you certainly would have settled for 6 points from the 4 games if we could have got it. I thought we should have got something out the whole game, but we had a difficult 2 away games, 2 home games that we felt we had good chances in. But no, we're okay. We're fine. I think we'll get better. I think we had players that weren't really up to speed. 1 or 2 had. They were new. We brought a lot of new players into the club. That was a problem. Some of them hadn't played pre-season games with the clubs they were at. 1 or 2 had been to the World Cup. So we were a little bit behind the pace, I think, early on. But I think we'll be fine.
You mentioned Ferrer and Sander, I think, in terms of match fitness. How long do you think it'll be before they're at their peak?
Well, I don't know. Sandro's he got cramped last week. He hadn't played. There's nothing like playing. You can go out on that training ground every day of the week and train, but until you actually get in a game where there's tension and the nerves and everything else, and then suddenly it can have an effect on how you react to that. All the training in the world doesn't compensate for playing games. Match practice, 90 minutes football and that is really what 1 or 2 of them lacked and still lack. So I think hopefully we'll see Sandro fitter tomorrow than he was last week, and he's going to be a great player for us.
Can I just ask you whether or not you'll be trying to spend some time watching the Ryder Cup?
Absolutely. Be watching it. Yeah, sitting at home, looking forward to that. It'll be fantastic.
How big an event is it for you as a golf fan?
Yeah, I love it. I think the whole country, you know, anybody who likes sport or likes golf is going to be glued to the TV watching the Ryder Cup. It's a great occasion. It's become a big part of sport now. You know, it's got bigger and bigger every couple of years, and I think we're all looking forward to it.
Can I try and explain to you what Greg Dyke, the final question from me, wants to achieve? It's only a proposal at the moment. He basically wants to cut the number of non-EU players, so non-European Union players, playing English football by half with a series of new rules. So, just generally speaking, for that aim, what would you think of that?
Well, if you know, I haven't seen what Greg Dyke's had to say, but I don't know what the rules are and whatever else, or whether it's achievable. And you know, as long as you've got homegrown players that are good enough to come and play at the top level, it's not a problem. We all want to see more British players playing in the Premier League, but they've got to be good enough. It's no good playing them just for the sake of it because they come from these shores. You pick them, they've got to be up to playing, and if they're not, you've got a problem.
Thanks for me, Harry.
Okay, Gary.
We're speaking to Nico later. Just wondering what attracts you to him, why you've signed him 3 times.
What attracts me to Nico? He's just a good footballer, you know. Technically, I think he's a fantastic footballer, and he's a great lad. You know, I enjoy working with him, and he's always done well for me. I had him, you know, first of all, managed him at Portsmouth, where he was top class, and then he went to Tottenham, and so to get him back here again. Yeah, he's the type of lad you like seeing. I look forward to seeing him every day. He's a top class bloke, you know, and he can do things there. He's got great ability, I think, you know, and he's fitter now. He's in great shape. He's come back much better shape than he was last year. And I think that's important for him.
You spoke after United just a little bit about balancing what he does and what Leroy does in midfield. How do you see that working long term? Well,
you know, he's getting that balance to your team that is, you know, gives you that good shape to your team. And but Nico can play wide. He can play in behind the front. He can play, and I felt like, to be fair, last week, considering it was his first game, he was probably the brightest, you know, spark to come out of, brightest light to come out of the game at Old Trafford for me. I thought he turned in a good performance for a lad who hasn't played at all. That was his first game.
And when you came here, just finally from me, what was the situation like at QPR? You know, I'm not saying, you know, Mark Hughes left in a mess, but what was it like when you came in here? What did you need to do?
Well, it was difficult. Obviously, you know, when you go 13 games without winning a game, you're walking into a difficult situation. It's got to be saying wrong, and you know, it wasn't. You know, there was lots of different groups at the club. There was the lads who were here before, played in the Championship. There was a new group who came in, and really there wasn't a good atmosphere about the place, you know. But you know, you move on, and I think now that we have got a good group of lads here, good atmosphere, and that will stand us in good stead for the season, I think.
Harry, are you overly concerned by the goals conceded against the goals scored so far? It's 9 conceded, 1 scored in the Premier League.
Well, I thought we've made chances in the 2 home games. You know, the 2 home games we made plenty of chances. Missed a penalty against Hull late in the game, really, when we should have got at least a point from the game. Away from home, we've had two heavy defeats and not scored, so that is a little bit concerning. But they were difficult games for us. I thought they came at the wrong time, especially, you know, the Tottenham game. We were short of. Really, it was a new group of players thrown together that we didn't have here when we started back pre-season. I didn't have a pre-season to work with the group. They all arrived at the last minute, and we had to throw them in because that's what we had. So we'll only get stronger, I think.
In terms of scoring goals as well, you creating the chances that you want to create?
Well, not in the away games we didn't create too many, but in the 2 home games we did. So hopefully we can create some chances tomorrow and stick a couple away, you know.
What about Stoke this season? Do you find that you and there are parallels between the two of you when it comes to the kind of seasons you're going to have?
I think they've got a strong squad, Stoke. I think they'll do well this year. I thought they were unlucky last week against Leicester, and I think they've got quite a powerful group of players. I think Mark's brought some good players in there, you know, and with the backbone of the team that he's had for, you know, the centre halves have been there, the goalkeeper, the midfield players, they've been there now for a few years. You know, they're very much a team. Crouchy up front, and he's brought a few exciting players in, I think, to add to that group. So I think they'll have a good season. They're a team that I think could possibly, you know, finish top half even, you know, round about that sort of position.
Given what's happened to you away from home so far, are you emphasising the importance of...
Not really, no, I don't. No, I don't want to put pressure on players and say, oh, we have to win this game. You know, it's at home. We've got to be relaxed. We've got to go and play. We've got to be ready. The crowd will be great for us again tomorrow at home. So we've got to make sure that we give a good account of ourselves tomorrow.
I know you ask this pretty much every week, but your contract, have you signed it yet?
I haven't yet. No, probably could do it today or whatever. You know, it's there. I just got to get down the ground and get it done.
Just a formality.
Yeah.
Wally?
Harry, after the Leicester game last week, Mark was frustrated with how they played, but also complimentary in terms of what Leicester did. They stepped back and they hit on the break because it was what they'd done against Man City the week before.
Yeah.
Do you think that's something that Rangers can sort of take inspiration from, hitting them on, try and hit them on the break, or would you want more possession against them?
What, tomorrow?
Yeah.
No, I think we're at home. Well, I wouldn't want us to be sitting back too much, you know, and the crowd get frustrated. They want to see you playing. You know, I feel we've got to get after teams a bit more. So I certainly wouldn't see us sitting back and looking to play on the break at home, really. Not against Stoke. But I think we've got to be positive and go at them at every opportunity.
How is you, because I think you played with the under 21s during the week, that left side of the fence has been an issue. Obviously there was a substitution at Man City half time. Is he available to be pushing for a start? Yeah,
he's okay, yeah. He's fit. He played the other night and he did okay in the under 21 game. So, you know, he was short of games really. He's had 2 games now since he came back to the World Cup with an injury. Then he injured his ankle again. He's just not been fit and available. But he should be okay now.
In the media briefing before the season started, Tony was asked what games he's looking forward to being back in the Premier League. He said West Ham, because that was the team he supported, Chelsea, because it's a London rivalry, and he said Stoke, presumably because of coming up against Mark. Have you got that sense that this game means a lot to Tony fans?
I haven't spoke to Tony this week about the game, you know, so I think Tony's got a lot of time for Mark. I thought that, you know, there wasn't no problems there. It was just, you know, things didn't work out in the end and people move on. So I don't know about Tony's relationship with Mark. I'm sure he's probably just looking forward to it. I know we saw Mark Bowen when I was with Tony one day, and they were, you know, they got on great. So I'm sure he gets on well with Mark Hughes as well.
As a manager who has gone back to plenty of clubs, you've managed even Tottenham not so long ago. What's it like, sort of the night before, when you're getting ready to go back to a club where fans have liked you and you've won before?
I don't know. Well, really, it's just, you know, it's another game, isn't it? It's another Saturday. You want to get a result, same as you do anywhere, you know. But you know, Mark won't lose any sleep about coming back here, or it'll be another 3 points at stake for him. Same as it is when I go back to clubs I've been at. You know, you go back there, you get on with it, you go home, and you move on. And it's people make more of it perhaps than what you do yourself. You know, at times.
Just finally from me, I know there's obviously an awful lot going on in Scotland at the moment. I wonder if it's affected Joe on the training field. Has he been all right?
Joe, no, I think Joe's mate. He lives in Bristol, Joe. His mate is living in England. I don't think he's losing any sleep over, you know. I don't know which way he's voting. If he had a vote, would he get a vote? No, he wouldn't. No. I didn't know if he could just vote. If all Scotsmen could vote, I didn't know.
Just in terms of Mark, I mean, you're basically saying you don't think it was his fault really what happened, you know, the fallout there.
Oh, you take the blame as the manager. I mean, you know, that's football, isn't it? You always, I don't know the circumstances. You know, all I said was Mark has done a good job wherever he's been, and you know, it didn't work out in the end for him here, but football, that can happen.
You have sympathy for that, obviously, because there's sometimes it can just, like you say, someone can be a great manager, a good manager, but it might just not work for whatever reason, is that?
Yeah, that can happen. And the players, you know, Mark wouldn't have brought all the players in. He wouldn't have been responsible for the whole group of players that were here. Some were here before, some, you know. So it was just, he had a difficult spell in that time, but he's come back strong from that at Stoke, and we'll move on, you know.
In terms of Sandro, I mean, obviously, you're pleased to have him in. Were you surprised that in some ways you were able to get him and he wasn't playing ball?
I was surprised, yeah. I think Tottenham turned down a big offer from Zenit just before, at the start of the season. Certainly £4 or £5 million more than we paid for him. So I couldn't be more pleased to have him. Have him here. He's a great character and he's a good player. And I think he'll be a big player at QPR this year.
Okay, turn the cameras off and let's go for cut.
Okay, Gary.